This is an RPG a Day response from the Casting Shadows blog. It's August 5th, and welcome to Day 5 of RPG a Day on the Casting Shadows blog. After I share my story, I'll be going out and looking for other stories, because I'm really curious about what the role-playing community at large has to say for this question. Today's question, the question for Day 5, is what story does your role-playing group tell about your character? Now, as I believe I may have intimated, or what other people might call baldly stated, I don't get many opportunities to play characters, at least not in a long-term sense. I get my chance to play characters from time to time, and but in terms of the kind of play that generates stories that people tell about your characters, it has been a while since that was a regular feature of play for me. So, what kind of story am I going to share? Or how far back in history am I going to have to go to find one? A trait I've noticed among people who are always the game master, rarely the player, a trait I've noticed about the characters that they play is that there's a great deal of similarity from one character to the next. Not because the game master lacks imagination, it's because they never really get the opportunity to explore that character. So they play, they get a couple of sessions in, they start to get excited, and then they find themselves back in the game master's chair again. And a couple of years passed, and they get another opportunity to play, and lo and behold, they try to get the opportunity to play that character again. This may not be true for everybody, but I've seen it a few times. I certainly have experienced it myself. So thinking about it that way, and how many of my characters and the opportunities I do get to play are in some way connected to the last time I got to play and it got interrupted, I started thinking about, well, when did I really have an opportunity to play a character for a long time, really get to know them and really demonstrate them? And it actually goes all the way back to before I came to Korea. It's the ending part of our very, very long-term exploration of the World of Darkness games. Now, we had been playing my Vampire the Masquerade campaign for around 5 years at that point, and it would continue, but we also adopted a new campaign. We were sitting down with 4 storytellers, 4 game masters, to run a linked campaign, and we had very special rules how it went about, and you can read about that on my blog if you're interested. But the point was that those of us who were World of Darkness storytellers at that time, were all going to share the responsibility for this campaign, and we would all get a chance to play, and it would be in rotation. So you knew it was only going to be 2 weeks before you got to play again. So that was great for me. That was the longest period that I got to play a character, and I got to play it in Vampire the Dark Ages, which I really liked. And this was a case where I did not make a character that I had been trying to make for a while. It wasn't built around an NPC that I had discovered I liked or anything like that. I tried something completely new. I tried a personality that I had not played before, and so on and so forth. And this character slowly grew and became a focal point, both socially and politically, in our group within the city, but also in a military sense in the region. As we went through playing this game, this character built a surprising power base in the mortal world. This was an approach that I had wondered about, but had never tried myself. It didn't seem to match the modern game in the same way that it matched the Dark Ages for me. And the opportunity that this campaign presented let me explore things like manipulating nobles and getting spies in the right places and building private armies and so on and so forth. And so as this character's background traits began to grow and grow and grow, and as they themselves grew in experience, the other players and the other characters began to take note. And unlike how I ran our vampire and werewolf and mage and wraith chronicles and so on, everything was in this binder for the 4 storytellers to see. So there was a broader awareness of exactly what each character could do spread out among the major movers and shakers in the group. So what I'm not talking about people making decisions based on meta considerations. What I'm talking about is they didn't just have to guess where you spent your experience and how powerful you're becoming and what connections you were finalizing and whatnot. They knew. So there was a sense of interaction between the characters which was more rooted in the reality of the situation than we had yet experienced. So it wasn't all about the smoke and mirrors and lies that you're putting forward. It was the smoke and mirrors and lies plus this very real sense that you knew what they were up to. So there was a point in the campaign where we had decided it was time to advance the timeline. We were getting finished with this particular period. The Sabbat was on the rise, and it wasn't of interest to the majority of players to turn it into a game of, long nights of fire and fighting against elders. We wanted to move forward in time and experience a later period where things had settled down a bit and we could get into the politics and philosophy of one side versus the other. So the story that gets told about my character is how on the night that we as a group of young vampires decided for ourselves that the time had come to leave this place and change our destinies forever. My character excuses himself from the assembly and makes his way up onto the highest point in the city, which was under his control, and looked out over the city. And one by one his retainers followed him up, and then one or few of the others among the Canaanites in the region joined him as he looked out over the city. And after a moment of silence, he says just one short phrase: burn it down. And that was the conclusion to the entire campaign. Later on, I realized that the first words spoken in the campaign were a whisper made by my character in greeting to another. And it turned out that the last words uttered in the campaign was a bald statement of power. So the character's arc from hiding in the shadows and wondering if they're going to survive and requiring alliances had moved to the point where commands were being issued. It's interesting. And that's the aspect of this character that was remembered. Okay, so tomorrow, day 6, August 6th, and our next question. I look forward to hearing and seeing your stories then. To get the questions and participate yourself, go to brigadecon.org. We have everything you'll need, now in 3 languages.